It's not that people don't want to buy. The mistake that people make when we do move into, and I don't want to call it a recessionary cycle because I don't even know what that word means anymore, but the mistake that people make when we move into cycles where things are getting a bit more constrained, where they are tightening up a little bit, is they think that people stop buying. They don't. What they start doing is making slightly more considered purchases. And one of the ways that they do that is they make more smaller bets. So many of us got away from this weird thing that we popularized called the tripwire, right? The entry point offer, the loss leader. Everybody got away from that. They're like, you don't need to do that anymore. You don't need to have all of these other products and services. Just sell high ticket. Just go to the top. Just do that. You don't need all these pesky little things out here distracting people. Well, that may have been kind of sort of right at the time. Guess what? It ain't gonna be right in this next cycle. Now, I'm not saying that you can't still give people an opportunity to skip the line and to buy your most expensive thing first. At any given time, there's 3 to 5% of the people who are ready now. In any market, 3 to 5%, they're ready to buy now. And so part of the funnel is figuring out how do we get those people who are ready to buy now to raise their hand and indicate that. But it's 3 to 5%. Everybody else, we're going to need to nurture them. We're going to need to romance them. We're going to need to offer them something small, offer them something a little bigger, right? So it's not that one works and the other doesn't anymore. It's that you need to get better at both. And that's when we get into, and I did talk about this at TNC. I'll be sharing more about some tests that we've done, but we now across all of our companies execute what we call a ready now funnel. And so when a new lead comes into one of our funnels, we're always assessing for number one, qualification. So on just about every single lead magnet that you see across all of my different companies, there's going to be some kind of drop down that is going to indicate, is this a qualified lead? And we don't mean qualified to be our customer at all. We mean, are they qualified for our most expensive, highest end program? So it's scalable. You got to be doing $1 million or more in revenue. Like you said, Ralph, it's not for startups. It's not for companies that are in the early stages. We're rooting for them. We want to help them. They don't qualify for our higher level programs. At Digital Marketer, it's actually agencies and consultants, right? Because we've got our certified partner program. So it doesn't mean that we don't want to help marketers of all shapes and sizes. It just means our highest level program is for agencies and consultants. So we're going to ask that qualifying question. That's going to let us know, okay, if they're not qualified, then let's serve them with some lower ticket stuff. Let's let them graze, right? Let's introduce some tripwires and those kind of things. Let's let them do their thing. Maybe they'll become qualified later on, right? We'll look to monetize that. Just so you know, right now across all of our funnels, on average, we are returning between 45% and 75% of our acquisition cost through the monetization of unqualified leads. I'm throwing up the air quotes if you're listening. The rest of it is coming from the qualified leads. Now, we don't just say, hey, you're qualified, you should buy our most expensive thing now. What we want to do is, the next step is do a readiness test. We want them to take some kind of micro action to indicate that they're perhaps ready to hear a higher ticket, ready to do what Ralph Burns did. Hey, I can't help but notice that you bought, you got this 43 split tests. Are you an agency and consultant? Yeah, I am. Cool. Hey, one of the things we do is we help agencies and consultants. We got a program that we do this. It starts at around 10 grand a year. Interested in learning more about it. Here's how we think it can help. Yeah, I am. Okay, so you're not just qualified, but you're also ready. Qualification plus ready means that we can go ahead and move you to the top of the line, right? We call that a ready now funnel. This is something talked about last year, been testing it all year. When you think about funnels that are working for us right now, that one continues to work. Because what it acknowledges is that the old ways of doing things, where you start people at the bottom of the value ladder and you walk them up, it still works. Sure. It also acknowledges that, but today, ad prices are too dang high. We can't afford to march them up slowly. We've got to go high ticket first. We got to flip the funnel. Mm-hmm. Well, how do we do both? We're going to test for qualification and we're going to test for readiness. Yeah. So all of these things, again, though, what's the big? That's a tactical thing that people should just do and test. Sure. That's a way to kind of get some funnel mastery. The problem statement ads, that kind of speaks to a little aspect of messaging mastery. I submit to you, if you get those things figured out, just go to the traffic store and buy it. Mm-hmm. Hire Qasim, hire Ralph, just have them buy your ads, because I think it's safe to say, if you got an ad that's generating a 2-to-1 ROAS within the first 30 days, you're probably going to be able to scale that. So that's the game, but it's all the stuff that used to work. Nothing's really changed. Work on the stuff that doesn't.
I remember the very first time I heard you say go to the traffic store, and I was so offended because I was like, I do so much more than that. I spent it was an existential crisis for me, man. Because the next day I'm like, he's right. Like it's just attention arbitrage. And you know what was funny, Ryan, is until I wrapped my head around that, I couldn't scale my agency. Because I was convinced that like this is magic and I'm a magician and nobody else can do this. And the minute I started treating it like it's the traffic store, we're going to the traffic store, we're going to buy some traffic, and it really is just kind of that simple. And this is the aisle that you go for this demographic, and as soon as you get there, it becomes so much easier, so much more approachable. So that's a really healthy paradigm to have, but it was a tough pill to swallow.
Sorry, I didn't mean that to minimize the efforts of those.
No. You were absolutely right, is what I'm saying. I'm not defending myself at all. I just I had the same kind of like visceral knee-jerk reaction to it. So
anyway, guys, I guess that's happy to dive into it a little bit more. But when I think about it, all of our focus is on those three areas. What are the things that won't change? There hasn't really been a new channel introduced in a very long time. We kind of got it with TikTok ads, a little bit, but there's not new channels emerging like it was back in the mid 2000s, where it was late 2000s, where it was a new channel every other week. So channels really aren't changing. Funnel architecture, the economics, there's not like massive innovations. I mean, I like to think I kind of gave you a quick innovation there with the Ready Now funnel. Not a lot of change there. And in messaging, I think the biggest change that's taking place is everybody's going to rely on crappy copywriters that they've hired in the form of their AI tool of choice, and that's what they're going to expect to win the day. And it ain't going to happen. And they're going to wonder why. So I'd focus on messaging.
Diversity is resilience. Phenomenal quote by Juan Pablo Quinones, who's a survivalist. Which you might think to yourself, like, what could a survivalist teach me about Google Ads? But for real, first of all, do you hear that fool's name? Like, if he came for you, it's over. It's over. Played by a young Antonio Banderas, obviously.